Well, Michelle Hoskins was a single mother of 3, struggling to make ends meet. Then one day, she decided that the secret to her family's future was in a secret from her family's past. So imagine this. She sold her home, her car, even her jewelry. What was she thinking? Banking on the dream of turning her great-great-grandmother's syrup into a household food item. Today, her multi-million-dollar company, Michelle Foods, Inc.
That's what she was thinking.
Has foods in thousands of retail outlets and restaurants all across the nation. Michelle's honey cream syrup has smelled sweet success. Please welcome Michelle Hoskins.
Here she is. Come on out. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, how are you?
Great to have you here with us.
Grab a seat.
This is my seat?
Saddle
That's
up,
your
sure.
seat? Yes.
Ooh, pancakes.
Oh, they smell so
Oh,
good.
torture.
I wish we had smell-o-vision on your
Oh,
home
yes.
video player today.
Microsoft will be the first to develop it.
We have
Absolutely.
look-o-vision. That's good enough.
So it's just such a great story about your syrup recipe, where it came from, and the whole
Yeah.
story behind it. Well, let's start with that.
She was sort of great-grandmothered into it.
Great-great-great-grandmother.
Triple great.
Yeah, triple
Wow.
great. My family, we're a family of cooks. And so my great-great-grandmother, who was emancipated as a slave in the 1866, had this honey cream syrup that she made for her family that she stayed with. And they didn't like molasses. So she passed, and I think she was an entrepreneur back then, because she passed the recipe down through 3 generations. The third daughter in each generation got the recipe. And my mother was the third daughter. I was the only daughter, so I didn't get it until I had my third daughter. And when I had my third daughter, she gave it to me. But at the same time, I had read that in the 80s was a decade of the woman. And that was when, when women were going to emerge as CEOs and executives of companies. And I'm this little housewife sitting in Chicago wanting to be part of that movement. And I'm like, how do I do it? And so I decided to become an entrepreneur. Didn't even know what it meant. But decided to do that, and the only thing I had was this recipe. So there was one catch to it, though. They didn't want to give it to me because they thought I was going to tell someone. And so I was kind of afraid that if I was going to give the secret away because I didn't know how to do it. But I did, and I held on to this passion with the syrup, and I developed Michelle's Syrups and Michelle Foods with that recipe.
The beauty of your story is that a lot of people out there who have their idea, they have the dream, the one major roadblock is always like, well, the timing's just not right. I don't have the money, or, okay, once I get out of this mortgage or whatever. But you had everything going against you. You were divorced. You were living in the basement of your parents' home.
I didn't have a job. I had to go on welfare.
Unemployment,
I had
welfare.
everything going against me. But, I tell people now that you don't need money to start a business. You need a business to make money.
Right.
And you need the idea. And so I think that, this passion and this entrepreneurial spirit was so deep inside of me that nothing else mattered. I just knew I could. And I was looking for the future. I was like, if I don't do something now, what's going to happen 10 or 20 years from now? So I decided to just throw caution to the wind. I sold everything that I owned. I moved my daughters back to my mom's attic and started making the syrup in her basement. And everyone thought I had lost my mind. People would come in the house and they would say, well, how's Michelle doing? And they would say, well, Michelle's a little crazy. She's divorced her husband, she's quit her job, and she's in the basement making syrup.
Making syrup.
Right. And you sold your jewelry.
I sold everything. I sold my daughter's gym shoes, everything. And so they just didn't think this was going to work for me. And that kind of made me more determined. Because I had to prove myself, not only to myself, but to the people around me that loved me, because they thought that I had just lost it.
Gone off the deep
What a
end.
neener it must be all these years later.
Oh, yeah.
The
Now
same
I can
people
just...
can't even look you in the eyes.
Yes.
I guess you weren't so crazy after all.
No.
All right, so Michelle, you managed to get the product, in bottles, but you had some problems early on. Can you tell us what happened?
You know what? I did not know anything about the food business, and I think very few of us do. We're just consumers, so we don't understand the back room of it. And I didn't understand that I couldn't just make it on the stove and take it and sell it. And so I did that at first, and I realized that I couldn't. People was like, this stuff is churning colors and it's spoiling, and I had the real ingredients in there: the butter, the honey, and the cream, and nothing had been formulated. So I came back to the drawing board, and I said, let's get serious about this. And I seriously started doing research, which I think is very important when anyone's starting a new business, to understand your market and your product. And so I started doing research, understanding how did Aunt Jemima, how the rest of these companies get to the retail shelf.
You need a shelf life. It needs to be able to sit
and I
on
needed
that.
shelf life. I needed to have it formulated. I couldn't put tons and tons of butter in tons and tons of products. So I figured that out. And so that was the first step, to understand I needed to be formulated. And so I did that, and I took a little money. Every time someone would need some money, I would sell something. That's how I ended up selling everything. And so I understood how to formulate. And then as I started opening doors, people around me, you know, when you start opening doors, there are people around you that have the information. And I started getting information. And my mother had read, even though she was not for this at first, she read that there was a company called Resources in Chicago that had actually helped a gentleman put a chili recipe on the market. And they had umbrella these services, and they really wanted to keep that business going. So I contacted them, and out of 350 applicants, they felt this was the most marketable product. So they did give me some assistance. No money, but they gave me plenty of advice, and I kind of followed that.
So then how did you get into the big retail stores? I mean,
Well,
what was that next process?
after I got it formulated, I would have the co-packer who makes product bring me a 55-gallon drum and drop it in my mom's basement. I would hand fill it in the evening, me and my daughters. It would take sometime maybe 6 hours to fill a case because we were taking our time and put labels on it. And I would take it around to local retail chains that I had really frequent. You know, they're in my neighborhood. And I would tell the store owner, if you put it on your shelf, in 30 days I will invoice you. Well, I would go back home.
So no money exchanged.
No money
You
exchanged.
said just put it on the shelf.
And in 30 days I'll come back.
And if it sells, we're in business.
But I would go home and I would actually go in disguised and buy it myself. I created this illusion of movement.
You created your own
I did
demand.
my own marketing.
Just
I mean,
you? You didn't have any friends to help you? It was
well,
just
I
you?
would tell my friends and my daughters, and you know, grab some off, just go in there and buy this syrup, and I created this illusion of movement.
That's ingenious.
And I would do that, and I was in 48 stores. That's my job, creating this illusion of movement. I
Did
was
you
just
actually
moving.
wear disguise?
I would
you
wear a
try to
hat,
hide?
sunglasses. I would change coats.
I love it.
I even had a wig.
Mustache?
Yeah, I would go
Isn't
in.
that Michelle? No, it can't be. She doesn't wear hats like that.
And I did that until I realized that, you know, I need to go to the next level.
Right.
So I went to the largest retail chain in Chicago, Jules. And it was so funny because I went in, the lady at the reception desk said, you know, personnel's upstairs. Because it was unusual to see a woman, an Afro-American woman, come into a buyer's office selling a product that, what was the name of the product? Michelle. Was the name of the company, Michelle Foods, and who are you? So when that happened, it was like, okay. And I went into the buyer, and he thought it was very ingenious of me to have done this. And he said, let's try it. And put it in front of the buying committee, and I got all stores in the next 30 days. I was in every major retail chain in Chicago.
No, I got to interject because my stomach is talking over most of
I know, you can
We've
smell
got to
these
try
things.
because
Okay.
the smell of the hotcakes, and we've got your famous syrup in front of us.
Yes.
What should we? Any particular
You know what?
recommendation?
I
You've got
love,
all
you know, honey
flavors.
cream is the original. I love butter pecan, but these syrups are also condiments. You can actually use them for so many other things. But let's try the honey cream
Honey
because
cream,
that's
that's
the
where
original.
I'm going. I'm getting right
You're
down
going with
to
the
it.
original? Should I try something
Try
different?
butter pecan. You try butter
I'm gonna go
pecan.
crazy
And
with
that's this
this.
one right here.
Right.
Excuse me, Chris.
Yes,
Don't mean
and
to
you
reach.
cannot be a syrup person without making a maple, so that's why we have maple cream.
Okay, well, let's so that we can buy some time to actually eat. Talk
Okay.
about some of the biggest challenges early on. You know, you've got this idea.
Yeah.
You're creating your own demand, but you know, you're going to run into roadblocks. What
Well,
were
the
some of
first
them?
roadblock that I ran into was capital. I didn't have any. So, you know, I had
That's
sold,
always a roadblock,
Yeah, I had
isn't it?
sold everything I owned, but I did have this piece of business, this retail chain that was large and was picking the product up. So I learned early on how to live off of receivables. And by that I meant that I would go into the corporate office and I would say to them, well, listen, if you pay me in 10 days, I'm a small company, you know, and I don't have a lot of money. If you pay me in 10 days, then, you know, and I went to my suppliers and said, if I could pay you in 45 days. So I had a 30-day window there for cash flow.
Oh, so you shortened up the time that you...
That they paid me sooner and I paid them later. So I had 30 days to figure out what to do with this little money I had, because by the time I paid them, but then it gave me the initiative to go out and get more accounts. So then I went
try
and
yours.
I got another retail chain in Chicago.
I was about to slap her hand away.
No, don't slap her
That's just
hand.
an instinct from growing
No,
up
he was
with
off camera.
brothers and
Right,
sisters.
right.
Okay.
So then I got another retail chain. And so I started really looking at going from that phase into growth. How do I grow the company?
But ultimately, for you, the momentum really came into your favor when you won Denny's.
Yes.
You're the
That's
syrup
huge.
at
That's
Denny's.
huge.
Yes, Denny's was what I really believe, and I learned earlier on, is research. To read about your industry, to know what's going on. And I had read that Denny's was in trouble from a discrimination suit that they had.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, saying, okay, now Denny's makes pancakes, I make syrup. you know, and I'm an Afro-American, and they're in trouble with Afro-Americans, so how do I make this work for me?
Sure.
So I called Denny's every Monday morning at 10:30 for 2 years. Perseverance.
Why 10:30?
Well, it was just a good time for me. I had got up the kids to fed. I was at the office at 10:30. I thought everybody would be in their office by 10:30. So I called every Monday morning at 10:30 for 2 years. And they were going through a transition, and the new CEO came in, and they gave him, you know how you can imagine the reports they give to a new CEO. But they said, well, wait a minute, there's a woman that calls here every Monday morning at 10:30. And he said, what does she want? Well, she wants to sell a syrup. Now, I didn't have a manufacturing facility. All I had was what I was doing, you know, with the co-packer. And so Jim Amerson came in, and he called me, and he said, you know what, I think you could be value added to us. In fact, I know you can. And they gave me a $3 million syrup account that literally changed my whole company, because I was able to just have the great cash flow and to really stop now and not concentrate so much on the financial part, but the marketing and the growth of the company. And I became Denny's first minority supplier, and he wrote a book, and it was the reconstruction of Denny's, and I kind of really helped them from a PR standpoint to show, and they were the worst company to do business with for minorities when I started, and now they're the best under the government. So I kind of helped them, you know, understand that the supply diversity piece, and that, you know, the minority piece and the woman piece was important for growth. To help companies grow, you have to give them business, and so that was
great partners.
great partner. It was a great relationship, and it really helped me and it helped them, and it was, but it was through perseverance and research.
Michelle, you believe that many entrepreneurs are just naive. Naive enough to succeed?
I think being naive was the best thing for me. Had I known all this laid out for me, had I went to school and studied this, I probably would have felt insecure that I could do it. But being naive, every time I came across an obstacle, I just jumped over it, because it's an answer to it. Because I had a goal, and the goal was to be in every major retail chain across the country. And so when I came across an obstacle, I was like, you know, that's in my way. Let me get around it. And so I think by being naive really helped me more so than hindered me. Had I known, I probably would have second-guessed myself so many times. It probably would have really hindered me in my growth.
We got about a minute left here, and we're going to take a break, but then we're going to learn more from you. Let's talk about your 3 Ps. What are they?
The first one is passion. You have to be passionate about what you want to do, because, I mean, making money is while you're sleeping, I think, is the key. And if you're passionate about something, it's going to grow. Patience, you got to be patient to make sure it happens. You got to persevere. You have to keep going until it happens. You cannot give up. Had I given up, you know, when they first said, you know, it's not formulated, I would not have been sitting here. So you have to be patience, perseverance, and passion are the 3 Ps.
Good things to remember.
Yeah. Very good.
This is really good.
I feel
Thank
guilty.
you.
I see the crew watching us. We're going to get ready to take a break. But come on over here. Let me give you some syrup. You don't have to sit. Dry pancakes just don't do it. Try some of
So you have 3 types here.
Oh, good. What did
Butter pecan.
He's going to be the
honey
envy of the entire crew now during the break.
Okay.
They're
Give
gonna
it
be
your
mad at
taste
you.
test.
All right,
John's
folks,
our
stay
floor
tuned
director.
as our floor director pigs out here. We've got more with
Wait,
Michelle
thumbs
Hoskins.
up?
You'll hear about her other passion, which is mentoring, and about the program she's built to help others succeed. Stay tuned. Just go nuts.
Well, Michelle Hoskins not only runs a multi-million-dollar company, as we just heard, Michelle Foods, but she also gives back in a huge way. Today, she's here to tell us now about one of her other passions, her mentoring program that takes people from recipe
To retail.
Yeah. Yes, Michelle. Why did you want to do this? Why was this important
Well,
to you?
when I started, I didn't have any mentors, and I think if I hadn't had mentors, I would have probably gotten further sooner. So I decided, really, let's backtrack. A girl came to my office about 9 years ago with a big jar of tea. She said, I want to put this on the market. And I'm like, okay. And then I backtracked and said, let's figure out how to do it. And so the same steps that I had taken to put the syrups on the market were the same steps that I gave her. So she was successful, and she has launched a wonderful brand of teas called Magnolia Teas. And so I decided to teach this program, because I had a lot of people ask me how to do it. So I actually wrote a workbook, and devised a mentoring program where I teach people how to actually take a product off the stove, from a recipe all the way through retail.
Which is perfect, because you really...
Yeah, because
you don't
I
have
did
to even
it.
use it as a metaphor. You
Right.
really took a
I really
recipe
did it. And
from great into the basement,
Right.
You know, into a chemist,
Right.
and now it's on the shelves. It's in Denny's and beyond.
Yeah.
And, how do you think the mentoring process has helped you as a person and to be successful in business as well?
Well, it's helped me because I think once you build a passion for something and you're successful in it, then you have to reinvent another passion. And the reinvention of this passion, my mentoring passion, has really helped me because what I do, I get so many people that call me and actually come in and take this program and become successful. So I love it because I can tell them things that they don't know, and it's like light bulbs go off in their head when I tell them that you cannot take a product that you make on the stove into retail. It has to be formulated.
Right.
And I tell them about the marketing, about the packaging, about the UPC, the nutritional. So light bulbs kind of go off, and it's inspiring to me because I'm able to give back. I'm able to see people actually realize their dream, because you can sit and feel like I have this wonderful recipe, this wonderful peach cobbler, wonderful barbecue sauce or whatever, and I don't know how to do it. And where do you go find this? And so when you call me and I tell you how to do it, it just makes me feel so good. And they come in and we have great success. I've mentored over 100 people in the last 9 years.
You know what? I'm going to send my husband to you. He has a great mango chutney recipe. He actually did formulate it and developed a label and everything else, but he's not a businessman. He's an artist and he's a great cook. But it's all just kind of fizzled apart.
Right.
So
well, I also teach that part too, because it is a business. Once you get the product formulated and you get it ready for, you have to understand the buyer, what the buyer's like, how the margins, how do you price your product? What's your competition look like? Who are you competing against? How's the retail store designed for you? So those are the things, and I teach them the business part, the business plan, and how to find financing. And then we talk about marketing. When you get into a retail store, there's certain promotions you need to do. There's certain things you need to do. So that is a whole gamut of everything you need, because I've done it and been successful. So it's just not fair that I would not give this back. So I would love to talk to him. It would be exciting.
As a mentor, you're basically dishing out free advice.
Yes.
And we are interactive. We're all over the world right now on the web. And my Windows mobile smartphone from AT&T just vibrated, which means I have an email, not a text message, an email. It says, Michelle, your story is very inspirational. What advice do you have for someone terrified with the startup plunge, which is what we're talking about today, actually starting up? So this is somebody obviously who's got their idea, they got their product, the mango chutney salsa, but they're terrified at that. Taking the plunge.
You know what? You can't be terrified. You have to take that. You have to take that fear away, because the fear that you're feeling is fear of failure. And if you're doing this for yourself, I tell people that when you do your passion, really love what you're doing, you have to leave all that fear and all that uncertainty aside and just go for it. Do what you would do if you weren't getting paid for it, and that's what's going to draw you the wealth to you. And I think the key to something like what I do is, the key to wealth is making money while you're sleeping. Having something that someone can purchase for you or purchase from you when you're not there giving it, selling it to them. So I would tell them, don't be afraid. Email me and I'll try to help you with those fears.
So if people want to be mentored, do they come to you, or do you go around the country and hold seminars, or how does that work?
I have a recipe retail program once a month in Chicago in my offices, and I take a certain amount of people, and we have this wonderful, wonderful class. And then I do go around. I have a company in Atlanta that wants to bring me in with 20 people. So I started to kind of venture out of Chicago. First it was just like, come in and I'll just tell you. And now it's become serious to the point that I'm doing a second class, a marketing class. And once you get the product ready, what do we do next? So not only once you get the product and say, okay, I have this product, I've done all this, got the co-pack or whatever. How do I do it next? And so then I also tell them. And one thing that I also can add is that because I didn't do it with a lot of money, I also show people how to do it without a lot of money.
Which is perfect. And you actually have, what, 2 phases to the program?
Yes.
What are they?
The first phase is the development program, how to develop a product, how to get your company, because I also tell them how to incorporate their company, how to look for financing, how to make sure that you're credit worthy, so because everything's going to fall back on you. So that's the first phase. And once you get the product, I have a guy that has a wonderful salsa. It's finished. Now, how do I market? It's not a mango
chutney, is it?
No, it's not. It's not.
Ooh, competitive.
It's not. But how to market that, how to actually understand what a buyer's looking for, because once you get the product, you're going to have to sell it to someone. And he has a whole list of things that he knows you should know about his category and about where you want to get your product placed in his store. So you need to understand that, understand your competition, do some research, and have the whole world there, so when you walk in, you sound very qualified to have this product for retail distribution.
Very competitive, though, to get your product on the shelf anywhere, isn't it?
Well, you know what? They're yes and no. Well, you have to look at it from the standpoint of the stores are looking for new and innovative products, and small businesses are what we're built on. So when you walk into a bar, normally like your husband's product would be different. It's nothing like that. And that's why I have them do research, see who's out there like you, and let's change it a little bit. Let's make sure our packaging is warm to the consumer. Let's make sure our packaging speaks to the consumer you're going for. So once you bring in small companies, the bigger companies really look for us because we are different. We're not just the same old, same old. And so from that standpoint, and the human interest story plays such a big part in selling your product, because the consumer wants to know who you are. And when you're that close to your product, you know, like your husband's making this wonderful sauce, and he has a story about why he's doing it, and people told me to do it. They can embrace that story, and they will support you from the human interest end. So I think, you know, the smaller you are, the better it is, and the easier it is to get in, because the buyer knows that you are something that the consumer's looking for.
When you talk about competitive positioning, it seems like what you're talking about here.
Right. Well, you know, if you walk in, that's why I teach them what the buyer's looking for. If you walk in and there are tons of the same product on the market, and you talk to the buyer, you explain to him, you've researched this category, you understand that some things there are not as well as yours or great as yours, and give you a chance. And, you know, they'll move things around, and it's not as competitive as you think. It depends on what area you're going in. Yeah, water's competitive, sodas are competitive, but sauces are not, syrups are not. When I came on the retail market, there had not been a new syrup introduced in the market for 15 years.
They were ready for you.
Right. They were ready for me. There had been no syrups. And so I brought a fresh approach to the syrup market, something different, unique. There's no syrups or condiments. So I teach people how to make your product different so that buyer says, you know what, we need this product.
How many people do you think you've mentored so far, Michelle?
About 100. My secretary gave me 36 this year. And so I've been doing it for 9 years. So I think I've done more this year than I've done in the past, but we have been at 36.
That must be like a huge part of, you know, how you feel about giving back.
I feel great about it, and
much.
I feel so good when I see this person's product on the market, or that they're ready for market, or they call me and they say, guess what, I just got a Kroger store. I mean, it's such a wonderful feeling, because it's something that would not have happened had I not experienced what I experienced and was able to give it back to them. So it's just, you know, it makes you feel good that I did the right thing 24 years ago and started this company to be able to be in a position to help people now start theirs.
Just got another email here on my Windows mobile smartphone from AT&T. Email, not a text, email. I'm that interactive. I'm on the cutting edge here.
Yes, you
I'm
are.
sitting here
I'm
with my
impressed.
fictitious name in hand, a lot of people, ready to start my own business. What steps should I take to be successful? So again, they're asking for the startup advice.
Yeah.
They're saying, I've got my idea. What do I do?
The startup advice is to start, you know, early on, reading books on business, doing research, you know, understand your market. The internet now is such a wonderful place to be. I didn't have that, you know, when I was 24 years ago. Do research. Go Google information on your product or your business, and get all that. Start the business part, because I tell people that the product is 1% of this business. So 99% is understanding business, understanding finance, and understanding where you can take your product to market. So the product is only 1%, because that's easy. The other part is what you have to kind of understand and know. So don't be afraid. Just start research and keep going, and understand that anything the mind can conceive can manifest through hard work, perseverance, and faith.
All right, remember, we are live today, streaming on the web, so you can ask your own questions of Michelle
Oh,
and our
got a
other guests
question on
today.
paper?
I have one on
you're
real
old
paper.
school.
I know, sorry about
You gotta
that.
get a smartphone.
I know, well, I'm working on it. What, Michelle, are the biggest mistakes you've seen entrepreneurs make in startups?
Yeah, you've given us a lot of to-dos.
Yeah.
What are the mistakes, don't-dos?
I think the mistakes are not understanding their product or understanding the market, not doing any research, thinking it's going to be an easy overnight success, and that you have to constantly, you know, cross all your T's and dot all your I's, understand, get a good foundation, make sure this foundation is understandable to you, and then go to the next level. Don't just, go somewhere and get incorporated and sit around for 2 weeks and wait to, get something else. Do things, get incorporated, do a business plan. Keep going, because every time you do this, like taking a trip, you don't stop, in the middle of going to New York and sit in the airport. You keep going till you get there. So you have to keep going until it's completed.
We got another instant message the old-fashioned way.
Oh, you got
We'll
old-fashioned
do it.
message.
Chris.
You've talked about selling a product to a retail store, and this person's saying, why shouldn't I just sell directly to a consumer these days with the internet and whatever? Well, why shouldn't I just sell it to people?
Well, look at it from this way. If you can sell and go to a corporate office, say, like Kroger has 3,200 stores, and you get that into that buying office, they're going to distribute to 2,200 stores. There's 1 million people come through every retail chain a week. So you are going to have more consumers from that distribution point than you would selling it online or selling to someone else. And then once they take it in, you have your product liability insurance. You're protected under their umbrella. So you'll get more individuals to see, then do some kind of internet promoting, but try to get it into places that people are looking for your product.
Is there a sort of a clout associated with that too? I mean, a domino thing by saying, "Hey, look, I'm in Kroger,
Right.
I'm in Denny." Then more and more people's
Right.
ears perk up
I mean,
versus,
I'm
"Hey,
in
I'm just
Walmart."
online."
Right? Yeah, Walmart. And then what you're doing is then you drive them to the store because you want to have your product somewhere that people are looking for your product. Like with me, with syrup. If someone comes to the syrup aisle looking for Aunt Jemima and I'm there, they see me. So you want to be where a consumer is looking for what you're selling to be able to buy what you're selling them.
Michelle, what do you think great-great-grandma America Washington would say about all this today?
I think she would be very proud. I think she sat, I always tell people, I think she sat on a rocking chair on a porch somewhere, had this little pocket with this recipe in it, saying, one day someone's going to get this, and one day someone's going to take something and maybe make something from it. And I get chills because I think that I'm her reincarnated. Ooh.
Under a minute left. What's one last piece of advice for folks out there hoping to be you, hoping to follow your footsteps?
You know, just follow your dream, follow your passion, you know, get up and do it. I mean, if I can do it, and I'm a housewife from Chicago, 3 small children, sitting somewhere wanting to dream. If I can dream it and manifest it, you can dream it and manifest it too. It's just follow your passion and just know that you have faith in yourself and that you can make anything happen that you want if you put in the effort.
Passion, patience,
And
perseverance. There
Thank you,
go.
Michelle.
Thank you.
If you want
you.
more information on Michelle Foods and her mentoring program, log on to sbsummit.com/guests. I'm going to have sticky hands all day now.